Wow, that's a great idea. Let's tell the community who had a 39% suicide rate just last year that they should be put to death. And not to even mention that this verse doesn't even mean that in the first place. What's up, YouTube? This creator known as Realism is a shorts creator on YouTube who creates skits with a Christian theme, but he's been causing kind of a stir lately because of his views on certain topics. So we're going to be exploring that today. This content has been portraying an outdated and not biblical image of Christianity and the Bible by focusing almost solely, mostly during June especially, on values based on mistranslations. I'll be explaining those later. He's been making jokes about paraplegics, one in specific who didn't believe in God, named Stephen Hawking, I'm sure we all know who he is, as well as many other gay and transgender people, obviously, which he refers to as transgenderism, whatever that means. I just want to start out by saying I'm not trying to attack anyone's beliefs, and just want to point him, if he sees this, and anybody else in my audience watching, in the right direction, especially if you're a Christian. Take a look at this clip to help you get a better idea of what I'm talking about.
Leviticus 20:13. Leviticus 20:13. Leviticus 20:13. Leviticus 18:22. 1 Corinthians 6:9. Deuteronomy 5:22.
The priest was right, and I'll be showing you exactly why soon. But before I do that, you seem to mention Leviticus 20:13 a lot. So let's take a look at what that says, why don't we? If a man lies with a male as with a woman, they have committed an abomination. The two of them shall be put to death, their blood guilt is upon them. Wow, that's a great idea. Let's tell the community who had a 39% suicide rate just last year that they should be put to death. And not to even mention that this verse doesn't even mean that in the first place. I'm about to blow your entire case wide open. However, do realize that following this would also mean you would have to follow 19:19, which is don't plant two different kinds of seed in your field and don't wear clothing made from two different types of fabric. Better check that closet for 100% cotton. As well as 11:7-8, which is don't eat pork because swine don't chew the cud, even if they have cloven hoofs. But it appears you have 19:27 covered at least, which is don't trim your beard. Anyways, I see you mentioned Deuteronomy 5:22, which is Moses receiving the 10 Commandments? Okay. Anyways, back to the other verses. These parts of the Hebrew Bible were translated using something called the Septuagint, which was the original Greek translation of the Bible. The words it used in 1822 and 2013, as well as Corinthians and Romans, were the words malakoi and arsenokitoi. Malakoi was a male who takes the receiving role, while arsenokotei takes an assertive role. However, modern scholarship seems to agree that in this situation, it was a power imbalance as seen as an exploitive and abusive act. So it's basically male-on-male sexual assault, okay? This has nothing to do with homosexuality, apart from not only was it a different dynamic that the English translators at the time did not understand. This is why there was no mentions in the Bible of female committing sexual acts anywhere in the Bible. What most scholars agree was clearly intended by the authors was an abusive and exploitative act, and not people in equal, loving, monogamous, or familial relationships, which is the homosexuality as we know it today, that was never mentioned, and this has been distorted and the definition broadened since 1946 with the Revised Standard Version. If you don't believe me, watch the video documentary, which is well named 1946. This was, at the end of the day, a mistranslation. Please stop using the Word of God as a proof text to validate homophobia, okay? Moving on to more issues, let's take a look at another one of your videos.
It's interesting. Hey God, What's going on, Gabe? Do you approve of this? Approve of what? What do you... Okay, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to tell them I'm so clear about this. I'm so clear about this. It's in the first edition of my book. It's also in the second edition of my book, too. Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, hold up. Listen to this. Deuteronomy 22:5. A woman shall not wear a man's garment, and a man shall not wear a woman's garment, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God. That's all I have to say about that. Oh my gosh, what are they doing? All right, Jesus, come on, it's time to go back down.
Well, luckily for you, we still have an original Hebrew translation of Deuteronomy. So let's take a look at what that specifically says. For starts, the first recorded transgender people were the Gala priest from the Sumerian Empire, which was from the year 5000 to 3000 BC, while Deuteronomy wasn't even written until 500 to 700 BC, so transgenders were around long before Deuteronomy. But apart from that, let's take a look at the exact literal translation, and I quote, "Never cause or force a warrior's weapon to be used by a woman or weak person, neither dress warrior's armor on a woman or weak person, for to Yahweh, God of hosts, disgusting is such that do so." So this is referring to women or people who are too weak to fight in wars, donning armor or weapons. These are specific battle-donned garments they're referring to, not cross-dressing or transgender people. One more clip before we close out. Okay, this is fine, but as I've already explained in great detail, it isn't a sin. If it was a sin, you think Jesus would have mentioned it at least once, but he didn't. Calling these people just trying to live their life peacefully evil in itself is evil. If you want to judge with right judgment, you'll try to understand the true meaning of these scriptures and realize that early translators are men too and can make mistakes, as this church realized. That's how you can truly glorify God. Most gay and trans people will likely see this as bullying or hateful anyways, and that's likely to push them even farther away from Jesus. Or if they do love Jesus, cause them many feelings of self-hatred, which can lead to that 39% suicide statistic that I shared earlier, which used to be much higher, even above 50% at one time. As well as crimes against these people, just in this year, have went up 32.9%. In February of this year, a non-binary student named Next Benedict was in the restroom when they got attacked by multiple female students and beaten brutally. So much that after they got home, they had to go to the hospital. And they were sent home before they went to the hospital. And then died the next day. And if that's not bad enough, Oklahoma ruled it as a suicide. A suicide. Do you realize how messed up that is? I'm not saying any of that is your fault, but putting out content like this just adds to the problem and the hate crimes that people are already doing as it is. This content you're spreading is dangerous and literally deadly. Transgenderism isn't a word, and this false narrative needs to end. So please just try taking what I'm saying to heart, because it's seriously deadly and causing an epidemic in this country that's very dangerous and unhealthy, okay? Anyways, this has been Ckei, If you love commentaries and true crime, consider subscribing to this channel. And if you're a Christian as well, consider checking out my channel in the description, which is Ckei for God. Thanks for watching. Hasta la vista, baby.
I'm a hot mess.